What's going on, everyone? Michael here at 3D Print Everything, and today I am going to go over when is it right to choose a point 0.6 nozzle, or when do you want to switch from a point 0.4 to a point 0.6 nozzle. So I personally, just up front, run my point 0.6 nozzle on just about every machine. There's only a few cases where I'm actually going back to a point 0.4, point 0.4 being the standard size that just about every 3D printer comes with. So I just wanted to kind of show this project here. So this piece is a thick piece used for industrial. I won't go into what it is. Not under NDA or anything, but this is just an oil filled part. We'll leave it at that. So we're doing a high fill. We're doing 5 walls, and you can kind of see the build there. Now, the biggest thing here is our time and material used. So 5 hours is just under 5 hours and almost 200 grams of filament. We could probably even up that to a 0.35 layer height, maybe even a 0.4, and see we get it down to 4 hours. So literally just going up. And layer height there, we're shaving a good amount of time. Now there wasn't too much of a difference between 3.5 and 4. Yeah, literally about 20-minute difference. But from 3 to 3.5, that actually surprised me. That's a 40-minute shift, or at least 35. So not too bad, especially if you're doing production. But what we're here to talk about is the line width and nozzle size. So let's just change this down to a 0.4, and we'll keep all the other changes. And sometimes it's going to automatically set your line width to a little bit wider than your nozzle. This is something I've talked about in the past. The nozzle width, from what I've read online, is a combination of layer height plus nozzle size. So ideally, a 0.4 nozzle at a 0.3 layer height would be pushing a 0.7 line width. So we'll play with this. It automatically set it to 0.44. So this is now 6 hours. So, if we're talking running it at 5 hours, that's an hour and a half saved. And we only used a little bit more material, which in this case, more material is probably better. If we went to a 0.7, let's see, 0.7, I'm just curious. I think 4 hours, 41 minutes. But if we go back to a 0.6 nozzle, and we did so 6 plus 0.6 plus 0.3 would be 0.9. You can see that you get see another hour shift. So depending on how you set up your line width, layer height, and nozzle diameter, you're going to get much faster times. Now, what will come with that as a converse is you won't. At a certain point of line width, you're pushing so much material out that you're going to need a much higher temp setting than what you were probably using, and or a different style heating block. So at certain speeds, depending on the material, you're just going to be limited by how much material you can push out of the nozzle. So, if we go to a 0.6 nozzle, we're pushing more material out, even though if we're running the same speed here at 75 millimeters a second, it may start kicking back, and you may have to either up the speed or up the temperature or reduce the speed down. And I'll show you a couple of printers that are printing this right now. So I've got 2 King Runes up here printing it. That one had actually warped this piece a little bit, so I put a little bit of glue down. Not the ideal glue I'll use. I just had someone had left the cap off of my normal bottle of glue, and it was pretty low anyways. This print could definitely be a little bit better, but it just looked like it only had messed up on kind of the first layer just a little bit. It won't matter. We're going to go ahead and let that one finish. And looking at this one, it's peeling up. So I'm probably going to have to pull this one off because I can't have this thing peeling up. So I'm going to redo the slice on this one. Let me stop it now. I don't have a ton of filament to be wasting on these, and that's a good chunk right there. But I'm going to put some glue down on this one. And what else? Up the brim. So the brim's going to be probably double that, and I'm going to glue it. This is polycarbonate that I'm using on these two, and then we'll be using a PETG on this printer over here. So I got the Focus Smart clearly running a bit faster. The Focus is running at 100 stock, and then I've got it pushed 10% past that, so it's probably about 110% on the infill speed, and it's looking good. I did get some bucking from the motor when it was doing the infill on some of the first layers. So some of the first layers have just little bits where the motor was not able to push the filament out, and that's because I was running it at 225. As you see now, I have it kicked up to 250. This is a filament that recommends 225 to 235 or 220 to 235. So the fact that we have it, another 20 degrees hotter is just kind of showing you how much flow this printer is doing. Now I know there is at a certain point you're going to reach the highest temperature you can, which would be for your printer, and that's somewhere around this one's 265. So I could still up it another let's just do it. Let's go to 260. I had never tried going this hot, and we'll up the speed a little bit there. We'll give it another 15% speed increase. So this thing is pretty neat. I do like the Fucus so far. But as we can see, it's not stringing or making a mess or doing anything bad, and we've got it moving considerably faster. But look, see, that's what I'm kind of looking for. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a missed spot. I touched it. There's two little missed spots there, so that's potentially from it running just a little too fast. Yeah, I'm seeing it happen a little bit more, so we're going to back off the speed a little bit. But this is kind of how you can tune prints as they're printing. You can adjust the speed, you can adjust the temperature. So 10 degrees in temperature gave us, probably a little bit, maybe another 10% in headroom to go faster. But it is important that this prints extremely strong, as like I said, it has something to do with the oil field, and we know everything oil field is going to be abused. But yeah, the biggest advantages are, and if it wasn't mentioned, you get a better strength from a larger line pushed out. So it's kind of like just building with rope is what you can think of, and the bigger your rope, the better it is, at least in this 3D printing sense. So yeah, when you're playing with this, to me, if you're not doing really small things, if you're not doing stuff that would otherwise be done with a resin printer, a 0.6 nozzle is the way to go. Even this guy was printed with a 0.6 nozzle. So I highly recommend it, as you're gonna shave 10% to 30% or more of your print time. You'll get a stronger print, and your quality is not really going to be affected, especially if you're doing kind of basic shapes. If you're doing a lot of details that have points, if you're doing steeples and stuff like that, it can be tricky. You'll even run into other issues. I just threw it away, but we printed this out of PLA. Now, I had originally printed it in a polycarbonate, and the whole print looked beautiful, but right when it got to this, it moved way too fast for how hot it was, and it just made this a mess. So instead of getting that just right, and like Simplify, I would have been able to say, hey, print up to this height, and then slow the F down and change the temperature. But in Cura, I don't believe I have that ability, or I just haven't figured out how to do that yet, but I hadn't looked too hard either. But this part now is a good, nice finish there, so it'll fit into a drill. But yeah, that's kind of my input on when it is good to change to a 0.6 nozzle. I want to get a video out and have it be something helpful, so hopefully a few of you start switching to a 0.6 over your 0.4. You can change that up here, or if it's not there and you did a custom printer setup, you'll just go into your machine settings, you'll go over to extruder, and generally it's somewhere in here if you don't have it, if it's not a printer that was set up in Cura. If it's set up in Cura, they put it up front there. But yeah, guys, that is when to switch to a 0.6 nozzle. For me, right out of the box, switch to a 0.6 nozzle if you want faster, stronger prints, and you're not doing anything just completely small. For everything I'm doing, it's generally of a decent size, at least over a couple of inches, and the 0.6 is the way to go. So have a good day, guys. Hope you learned something new today. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff, and we'll see you in the next video.